like ones on the quiz. But we can go over homework questions, anything you want. Okay. I'm thinking we need to do a question like this. Oh, it was on completing the square. There's some on here, okay? 6. All right, so there's a question about, given the endpoints of a diameter, write the equation of the circle. I'm thinking it's been a while and some of you have forgotten. But if you think about where, and you really don't need to sketch this, but I will just so we can get a feel for it. You go over 12 and down 16, or over 8 and down 12. So it's kind of a small circle over here, I think. But if those are the endpoints, it's supposed to go through those. So what do we need to be able to write the equation of a circle? Can anybody quote the equation of a circle? X minus plus y minus k equals, anybody? R squared. Okay, that's the only one that's not on the yellow sheet. Guys, you got to know equation of a circle, okay? And I will be giving you a copy of the yellow sheet that is not written on tomorrow, so you can write on yours if you want, but it won't be on there. What you doing? No? So the endpoints of the diameter are points on the circle, but they don't help us with this equation yet. What do we need? We need the center, and the center would be at the midpoint of those. Okay, yeah, not slope, we need midpoint. And midpoint is you add the x's, make sure you hit enter, then divide by 2, you add the y's, divide by 2. So we get 10, negative 14. Anybody getting that, or am I making that up? You got that? Okay. So that's the center of the circle. So we're actually almost done. These are h and k. So we would have x minus 10 quantity squared plus y minus 14, minus negative 14 will be plus 14 squared equals r squared. Now, a couple options. You can use the distance formula from one of these to the center, and that will be the radius. The faster way that they keep telling me to teach you, students like better, is put one of these points in to this equation. So which one do you want to put in? Can we just use the one that's circled up here, 12, negative 16? You had to write this equation first, but we want to figure out what r squared is. If I know the circle goes through 12, negative 16, if I put a 12 here and a negative 16 back here, I'll have 12 minus 10, or 2 squared. Negative 16 plus 14 is negative 2 squared equals r squared. Don't I just want to know what r squared is? Well, this is 4 and this is 4, right? When you square a negative number, it becomes positive. So r squared is 4 plus 4 is 8. We good? So then we plug it back in here and it's 8. That's the equation right there. We're done. If I had done the distance between these 2 points up here, it would have been 12 minus 10 quantity squared, negative 16 minus negative 14 quantity squared, and that's the square root of that is the distance. This would be 2 squared. This would be negative 2 squared. So I'd get 4 plus 4 is 8. The square root of 8 is the distance, which is the radius. So when we put in radius squared, we'd get 8. Do you like plugging it in better? Okay. I do have one more example we can do, or you can do. If you go to worksheet 2B, 9 and 19 are both good questions for quiz review. Do you need to see another one like we just talked about, or can you do this one later on your own? What do you want me to do? Huh? Skip it for now? Okay. Make sure you practice this. Tell you what, I'll make sure I do it before I put the slides in the classroom. So if you want to do it and check it tonight, does that make sense? If we don't get back to it, it'll be done in the slides. What about completing the square? Circle's the easiest kind. Do we need to practice? We don't need to practice on a circle? Okay, I can do it. Like I said, I'll come back and do it before I put the slides in so you can check it. This is just another completing the square. Okay, you ready to move on to parabolas or not? Okay. Parabolas, this one, what's wrong with this one if we have to graph it? This is off worksheet 11. Yeah, usually we write the squared value over here. That's what it looks like on the sheet, right? So really, I'm not rearranging anything. Mackenzie, Zoe, and Keaton, yes, they're all here. I'm just flipping sides of the equal sign. And then that means this is y minus k, quantity squared equals 4p x minus h. So what can you tell me? H is, anybody? Everybody okay that h is -1 right there? K? Right, the only other thing there is to worry about is p. And it says -4 equals 4p. So this is an easy one where p is just -1. Everybody okay? All right, if y is the quantity squared on my handy dandy best friend, the reference sheet, are we doing the parabolas on the left or the right? The right. They are the ones opening this way or this way. This one has a negative p-value, so is it opening to the right or to the left? Yes. It says down below the graph on the reference sheet, if p is less than 0, it's this one opening to the left. Okay, so where's the vertex? Where's the focus? Where's the directrix? Those are the things it's going to ask for. Yeah, the vertex is just at HK. Okay, where is the focus? H plus P comma K, which would be -1 plus -1. So we have -2, 2 for the focus. Is that making it open to the left? If this is the vertex and this is the focus. Okay, the directrix, the same distance. The distance P is -1, so it should be back this way 1, which is actually the y-axis. The equation says x equals h minus p. Be really careful. That would be -1 minus -1, which would be 0. Conceptually, we were better off just realizing it had to be right there on the y-axis, right? So this was the focus. This was the vertex. This was the equation of the directrix. And we're almost done. We need to find like an accurate point to graph this. This is the vertex and it's going this way. Yeah, we're going to plug in a number for y. What do you want to pick that's a little bit off of the y value is currently at the vertex 2. So You want to do 4? Okay. So a little ways away from the vertex. So the vertex has a y value of 2, so we're going to try a y value of 4. So I'm going to keep track of what I'm putting in. I'm putting in y is 4. So 4 minus 2, quantity squared equals negative 4, x plus 1. Now how do I work that backwards? 4 minus 2 is 2, squared is 4. Okay, over here I have a negative 4, x plus 1. Then what? You could distribute. It's faster to just, in my opinion, divide off that negative 4. If I divide the negative 4 over here, I get negative 1 equals x plus 1. Subtract 1 and I get negative 2. And remember, that was what happened when we put in y equals 4. So this parabola goes through negative 2, positive 4. So there's an axis of symmetry here, right? I didn't make you write the equation. But what's another ordered pair then? Yeah, negative 2, 0. Right? Equally on either side of that. Whoops. Good enough? Good enough for me. Right, so for more practice on those, it says at the top of the slide here, there were some on worksheet 4, worksheet 3, and the bookwork. I would highly suggest you practice. All right, also on worksheet 11A, there is one like this where you have to complete the square and find the focus, vertex, and directrix. There is also one like each of these where you have to write the equation. Now, one version has focus, one has directrix, okay? There's not 3 of these, but one or the other. How do we do number 5? How do we complete the square to get this in the right form? I don't know why students have the most trouble with completing a square on the parabola question. Are you completing the square on both x and y here? No. No. You can. You want to leave it over there? So he added 135 over here to the y. When we're done, we can switch sides if we want. What do we have to do with these x squared numbers? Yeah, we can factor out a negative 2. So we'd have x squared what? Plus 16x plus blank. So we'd have a negative 2 and an x. What happens in here? Plus. Yes, plus 8 quantity squared. And 8 squared is 64. But now for the blank up here, we have 64 times negative 2, which is negative 128. So what does that side simplify down to? Okay. Now, most of the time, the quantity squared is on the left by itself. So what else can we do with this thing? Yeah, if we divide this side by negative 2, what's it going to look like? Okay, I can do that. Yeah, so we would have a negative 1/2 out in front, right? Dividing by negative 2 is the same as multiplying by negative 1/2. Okay, if I rewrite this, so that it matches up a little bit better with the notation, this would be x minus h quantity squared equals 4p times y minus k. No. How come I have x's in 2 places? This is supposed to be a y, right? This one over here. Oh, this is supposed to be a y. Okay, I'm a hot mess. X plus 8, y plus 7. So what I had written was close to right. x minus h quantity squared equals 4p y minus k. All right, so I would like to do this one because I think on the quiz on this one, you do have to find the rest of the information. So where is hk? Okay. I don't think you have to graph it on the quiz, but you do have to find, that's not the center. What is it called? Boy, I'm struggling today. It's the vertex, right? What's the formula for focus? Now be careful. When it starts with an x minus h, the formula for focus is, all right, so -8, comma, -7 plus, what is p? Not even close. Right here, this is where I'm worried about, okay? 4p equals -1/2. Trying to get the p by itself, so we have to take 1/4 of both sides so that we have just p equals -1/8. So if I put a -1/8 in down here, -7 plus -1/8 is -57/8. Anybody? -7 plus -1/8 is -57/8. All right, what am I missing? Okay, and the directrix has an equation when it's an x squared of y equals k minus p. So I will have y equals k, which was -7, minus p, which is -1/8. Guys, watch those negatives. So I get 48, -55/8. Anybody? -7 plus 1/8. No? Guys, we're never going to get what we need to get done here. -55 plus 1 divided by 8. No, what am I doing? -7 plus 1 divided by 8. Oh, I want to go home now. Math, enter, enter is -55/8. Okay. There's 2 questions where you have to write the equation. There's 1 question where you have to write the equation of a parabola. It either gives you the focus or the directrix, okay? If it gives you the vertex, you should be halfway there, yes? So if the vertex is here and it has a y equals, which one do you want me to do first? I know on your paper these are here and here, right? Do this one? Okay. This is h and k. Which kind has y equals for the directrix? The fact that it has a y equals directrix means, so it's x minus h squared equals 4p y minus k. All right, so I can put those numbers in. X minus -6 would be +6 comma squared equals, I need to figure out what 4p is, y minus k, which would be minus -9 or +9. All right. The other thing I know is the directrix. What does it say on your sheet for directrix? Y equals k minus p, all right? What is k? K is, yeah, you're right. Let's just start there. We know this. We know y is negative 19 over 2. And we know k over here is negative 9. Can we find p now? Okay, so type negative 19 divided by 2 plus 9. Is that negative 1/2? So that's negative p, so p is just 1/2 if we change the signs. So do I put a 1/2 in here? What's supposed to go in there is 4p. So we have to put in a 1/2 there. 4 times 1/2 is 2. This one is very similar. We have we have h and k. The focus has the same k value. So can you figure out which way this one's going to open? If the focus has the same k value as the vertex. Nope, the focus should just be k, which means it's sideways. Y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. Okay, so right away I'm going to erase k and put in what? I don't have much room, so k is negative 5, so this will be plus 5. X minus h, but h is 9. I got to figure out what p is so that I can eventually take this out and put 4p in there. What is the equation for focus? On your sheet, when it's opening sideways, it says focus h plus p comma k. All right. Well, focus is 35/4 comma negative 5, which is supposed to be h, which is 9, plus p comma negative 5. So the negative 5 is good. So how do I solve for p? 35/4 equals 9 plus p. 35/4 minus 9 is, I think, negative 1/4. So p is negative 1/4, which goes in here, but that makes that actual value after I erase what? Yes. So 4 times negative 1/4 is negative 1. So that's what goes there. These are like puzzles. You can be okay? All right. We can do more parabola stuff in a minute if you need me to, if we don't run out of time. But I need to spend some time on ellipses and hyperbolas. Okay, do we need to graph a basic ellipse and find all this stuff? Well, for an ellipse, it will say find the vertices, co-vertices, yes, center and foci. We need to do it together? We should do one? Okay. So center. Okay, the center is 0, 2. So we know h is 0 and k is 2. Which of these is a squared? It says on an ellipse, a is greater than b. So what? 49 is a squared, so a is 7. And b squared is 16, so b is 4. So what are we ready to do? Okay, 0, 2 is across 0 and up 2. Then what? How do I know which way it's going longer? Okay, a is the 49, which is under x, so it goes 7 left and 7 right. And are those vertices or co-vertices? If that's the major axis, they are the vertices. Okay, which says h plus or minus a, comma k. So 0 plus or minus 7, comma k, which is 2. So that would be 7, 2, and negative 7, 2. Does that seem like where we put them? Okay, co-vertices are up and down how much? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. The formula for co-vertices when it's longer across is h comma k plus or minus b. H is 0, comma plus or minus the center plus or minus b. So 2 plus or minus 4. Which will become what 2 points? 0, 6, and 0, negative 2. Is that where we put them? All right, so we're almost done. We just need what? The foci. And the foci, the formula for foci is h plus or minus c comma k. We got to find c. It says at the bottom of that c equals the square root of minus b squared. Be careful. So 49 was a squared. B already squared was 16. The square root of that would be what, 33? Did any get that right, anybody? Okay. So it would be h, which was 0, plus or minus the square root of 33, comma k, which is 2. Did I mess something up, Keaton? C is the distance to the foci. So C tells us we'd go square root of 33 each way, which is what, guys? About 5, yeah, between 5 and 6? Okay, so 5.7, 5.7. Does that seem reasonable that the foci, right? I don't know if you remember this, but the further apart they are, the more oblong it is either way. Okay, if they're very close to the center, then it's very close to a circle. Does that answer your question, Keaton, about what C is? Okay. I'm not going to have room to do all that here, so you want to just complete the square on this one, or you don't need to do that?
Why?
How many of you are confident on completing the square when there's a coefficient out front? Well, for half of you, I'm pleased with that answer, but we can practice it. I'm just going to put it on another page, okay, so we can just have room to do it. Anybody want to come up and do it? Or you want? I'm going to do it so that we go fast, okay? What can we take out of the x's? So that will leave x squared. Okay, what are we taking out of the y's? Okay, and what does that leave? Huh, this is looking kind of nice. What goes on the other side? Add, so it's positive 359. All right, so the 16 comes down, and then we have a quantity squared. What is this equivalent to? X minus 1 times x minus 1 would be x squared minus 2x plus 1. But it isn't really a 1, it's a 1 times 16. Okay, this one is very similar, yes? It's just y minus 1 squared would be 1. 25 times 1 is, and then we get, is it 400? Okay, are we done? supposed to say equal 1, so we have to divide everything by 400. 16 goes into 400, I'm guessing 25 times, is that right? 25 divides into 400 16 times, and 400 into 400 would be once. So our final answer on the blank would look like this. If I gave you this question, could you find the eccentricity? How do you find eccentricity? I would not make you complete the square and then find it, just because you might make a mistake somewhere. But if I gave you the question, E equals C over A, and how do you find C when it's an ellipse again? Okay, so what are A and B here? Yeah, the bigger one, wherever it is A, right? What's A? Yes, you're right. A is 5, B is 4. But A squared is 25 minus B squared, which is 16, is 9. Is that wrong? So C is actually 3. So we have 3 over A, which A was 5, which is 0.6. What is it supposed to be according to here? For an ellipse, it's supposed to be between 0 and 1, so we're good. Any other questions? Yes, yes, yes. Did something wrong. All right, then there's one question where you have to write an equation of a hyperbola, okay? So I have to graph because I need a sketch. The center is at 1, -3, so I know right now that that's H and K, right, guys? There is a vertex, not a co-vertex, it says vertex, at -4, -3. Anybody know what that means right now? Yeah, it goes this way. And actually, we already know how long the major axis is, because from here to here is how much? 5. So it's going to be 5 this way to the other vertex. And A is going to be 5. Okay, but we can figure it out using a recipe as well, but we already figured that out. All right, the focus is the trickiness, because the focus is at 4, -3. Now, the question that Keaton asked is actually very helpful. He asked what C is, and C is that distance right there, okay, which is going to be 3. But let's pretend we didn't know that and go back and use some information. What does it say? We figured out there's a vertice. Okay, there's a vertice with the same K value. So we're on ellipses. The vertice has exactly the same K value as the center, which means sideways, okay? So if I know that's true, it says the vertices are at H plus or minus A, comma K. Well, I have a vertice at -4, -3. I know H is 1 and K is -3. So right there, -4 equals 1 plus or minus A. If I subtract 1, I get, so A is 5 or -5, it doesn't matter, because when you plug it in, you square it, right? Did we already have that? It matched conceptually what we said, that it's 5 units out to the ends of the vertex, to the ends of the ellipse. All right, then the focus. What's the equation for focus on that same one? Focus equals H plus or minus C, comma, okay? Is that right, guys? Okay. So the focus is 4, -3, so that's 1 plus or minus C, comma, -3, 4 equals 1 plus or minus c. If we subtract 1, we get 3. All right, we already had figured that out conceptually. But what do we have to write the equation? The equation has a b in it. How do we find b? C squared equals a squared minus b squared, right? So c squared would be 9. A squared is 25. How do we solve that? So we get -16 equals negative b squared. Divide by the -1, right? So 16 equals b squared. So b is 4. We really don't care because all we want to do is plug in numbers. All right, to this. How does it go, guys? X minus, which is 1, quantity squared over a squared minus y minus k was -3, right? So it's +3 squared over b squared, which is 16. Yes. Thank you. Yes. It's not minus, otherwise it would be a hyperbola, right? Thank you for fixing me, Dakota. Definitely a plus if it's an ellipse. Anybody else? Or do anything else wrong? All right. This is, again, completing the square and then write the eccentricity. It's an ellipse. Can I skip this one for now? All right, then we're on to hyperbolas, which is good timing because we're about a fourth of the class left or less. You have to write an equation given the vertices and the asymptotes. You have to graph and find vertices, foci, equation of the asymptotes, and you have to complete the square on one. What would you like to start with? What? Do this one? Okay. If you're writing an equation, that's what this is going to ask you to do, to write the equation. Can you figure out which equation we need just by the fact that the vertices share the same value up front here? Make sure you're looking at hyperbolas. Don't forget there are sheets up here for Mackenzie, Zoe, Keaton. Okay. It is up and down when the vertices share the same h value. So we are looking at y minus k quantity squared over a squared minus x minus h quantity squared over b squared equals 1. And a is not necessarily the bigger number, right? Can you tell me right away where the slope is what? According to that same one, the slope is, but it's a over b, right? According to the sheet, slope of that is a over b. Now I got to tell you, it could be reduced. Okay, probably not on the quiz. But what I'm saying is that could have been 6 over 26. So before you start throwing numbers in, you should do a little work here. First of all, where's the center? The center means you always need to use midpoint. So -5 plus -5 divided by 2 is -5. -6 plus -12 is -18 divided by 2 would be, okay, so there are h and k. What's the formula for vertex? Actually, that's the center. What's the formula for vertex on this one? H comma k plus or minus a, right? So h is -5, k is -9, plus or minus a. And they gave us a vertex at like -5, -6. So -9 plus or minus a equals -6. If I add, I get 3. Add 9 over here. Does that match what we thought right here? A is 3, so write the equation, somebody. Okay. A is 3, so a squared is 9. Good job. B is 13 from the slope, so this is 169. Good job. Questions? I think I have another one of those somewhere if you need to practice it. All right. Should we graph next or should we complete the square next? How about you? Do you want me to try to do both? I mean, we could complete the square and then graph this one.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a 9x squared plus an 18x. We have a -y squared and -2y, and we move the other side of 1. So if I take a 9 out, what will I have? X squared plus 2x plus blank. What do I have to take out back here? Guys, this is what I worry about. To take out a -1, what's left? Plus 2y. Okay. Now what? Half of this would just be plus 1 squared is 1. We're adding a 9. Minus 1. Y, this is half of this is plus 1 again. Squared is 1. So we're adding a, why do I, that's supposed to be a blank. So over here we have 1 plus 9 minus 1, which would be 9. Guys, yes, it does have to equal 1, so we have to divide by 9. If you get something that's like divided by 37, you probably did something wrong, okay? So try to figure out what's going on. They're not ugly answers. So 9 goes into 9, and you'd have 1. It's minus, so it's a hyperbola. This one is over 9. Okay, what's A and what's B? As A is underneath the, so A squared is 1 or A is 1. B squared is 9, so B is 3. Can we find C while we're at it? What is C for this shape? Okay, A squared was 1 plus B squared, which was, so C is, okay. And H and K. All right, so if we graphed it, we'd go left 1, down 1. Which way does this one open? Sideways, okay. How do I draw my rectangle? It says in the X direction, I only go 1. Very small. Did I say triangle? Okay, it's a rectangle. I thought I said triangle for a minute. B is up and down 3. Not going to work well for me because it's tiny. I draw the rectangle. Draw the asymptotes. And this particular one opens, because X is positive, it opens sideways. Should just touch at that vertex. Yeah, mine are really bad. Okay, but the vertices are on either side of the box right there. The equation for vertices is H plus or minus a comma k. So the vertices are at -1 plus 1, which would be 0, -1, which was this one on the right side. This one would be -1 minus 1, or -2, -1. All right, all we need still are the foci and the asymptotes. The asymptotes go through the center, so it's y plus 1 equals plus or minus 3 over 1 x plus 1. Okay, and the foci are at -1 plus or minus the square root of 10 comma -1. All right, I'm going to stop recording, but I will go back and do all the rest of them that we skipped and put the answers on the slides so you can check your answers.